Holy Smokachinos. Is this like episode 3?
Numero 3.
Numero 3? Is that how you say that?
Number 3.
Numero 3?
Parlez en français.
Well, okay. But I wasn't expecting that.
You asked the question. You got to expect the answer.
Oh, I should always expect the answer. So welcome back to Starting from Scratch. This is our full-length episode after Anthony Grant was on it. And what I'd like to say is thank you for everyone tuning in and keeping up. I've been seeing the views and listens go up, and I'm actually pretty stoked. You can find us at FERD.nation on Instagram, and we've named ourselves that because you are our FERDs. We are FERDs. We're film nerds united. So yeah, so
stronger together.
FERD.nation is where you can find us. You can also email us at flannelonflannel with Daniel or flannelonflannel with Tash at gmail.com. And well, I mean, do we get right into it? I think we might have to.
Let's take a deep dive.
Let's take a deep dive into Galentine's Day Nightmare. Yay. Yay. I can't say that that's actually the tone of the film, though.
Yeah, definitely not. Galentine's Day Nightmare is a Lifetime movie. It's a thriller, right?
It was, I would say
thrilling.
It's very, very, very thrilling. Yeah, 100%.
Based on what Lifetime said on their site, Lifetime is the ultimate women's channel with stories for women, made by women, with exclusive movies, award-winning dramas, and exciting reality series. Lifetime empowers women to find their strength through the transformative power and attraction of entertainment.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it makes a lot of sense now that hopefully everyone's listened to the interview with Anthony Grant and us.
Definitely do that first.
Yeah, do that first because it'd be a great look into how this movie was made. He loved the female director, and he was just so grateful for being able to be the lead in this film.
Most definitely.
And you can tell he actually acted the fuck out of it. I mean, the hell out of it. Yes.
I know, like, even though it's centered around female characters, like for the most part, or at least the main protagonist, I was like, I told him in the interview, I was like, I was rooting for you the whole time. Like, I was invested more in his character.
Yeah. Well, it's because there was I shouldn't say weird, but there was a large amount of cross-cutting between them, right?
There's a lot of similarities.
Also because he's watching her all the time, and we needed to see him watching her, and seeing and hearing also because he had a lot of dialogue to himself, knowing what he was thinking next. Because for me, I actually like watching it a second time. I almost didn't. I picked up on a whole lot more than what I did in the first place. I actually understand the plot a lot more. It actually makes sense. It has a full ending and everything. Thank the Lord.
It's true. It's true. And the second time around, I'll agree. Like, there's things I noticed right off the bat, and I was like, oh, like
the 2 years, the 2 years later, because the first scene, and if anyone's watched this, it's a memorial. It's a funeral memorial, right? Of his, and it's his name is Brian in the film.
Yeah.
So Anthony Grant's name is Brian, and Brian was giving his eulogy on the spot of his wife, I guess, because he doesn't really specify wife. I just wrote girlfriend at first because
really?
Yeah, because he never said wife, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then he points at her, his Madison, who's his deceased wife's daughter, and I was like, dude, this girl's like 30. Like, how old was
that's not your new girlfriend?
Yeah, like that's what I thought was gonna happen. I was like, oh my god, this dude's gonna go after the daughter now. But that's not exactly what happened. It just goes 2 years later, and all of a sudden we're with our lead Claire, who I still kind of think is a sociopath.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Big time. Everything about what she did in this film was so out in the open, and she trusted people she shouldn't have trusted in the first place, like this Tiffany bitch. Like I was so like now I understand at the end, right? I'm not going to say the ending, but I understand why there was so many scenes with her and Claire, Tiffany and Claire, because it just worked well. And I was thinking about it the entire time. Every time I watched those scenes, I was like, why is this even important? Like, I was like, this Tiffany girl, like, I really don't like her. And why is Claire telling her? Because she has a thrill and she's being socio. I do believe that, believe it or not, I do think that Claire would take Tiffany's spot in the sequel.
You think? Oh,
yeah.
she would be the accessory.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're saying is interesting. Like, obviously, this whole movie is based around like a true test of her as a person, as a character, to be like, are you going to fall into the same habits, whatever, which she does right off the bat, clearly, right?
Right.
Very easily. But at the same time, I think you could be right. There's this aspect of like an unreliable narrator, because there isn't a narrator of this film, that when they show her in the past, like when her ex-boyfriend died and she was suspected as like, well, she got arrested for manslaughter. We only see it from her perspective in a flashback. Who's to say that that's actually the truth? We don't actually have like a consistent, reliable person telling the story.
Because everyone is lying.
Everyone, and there's a lot of different perspectives. Like, it's not from one point of view, this entire film, right?
Right. I don't think so either. I think it's what do they call that? An ensemble almost? Like there's multiple lead roles.
Ensemble, yeah.
Right? So this ensemble with these multiple lead roles, that's how we kind of start following it. Because at first it was we're following Brian, and then we were following Claire, and then we were also following the police.
Yeah.
But we'd also get into like certain scenes where it would cross over, like the guy in the wood, the park ranger in the woods. Like all of a sudden we got into his head just by him looking at these two people.
Yeah, it's sort of like if someone new enters a scene, like they carry it. The plot is carried. It's like moved from character to character in a sense, although like Claire's supposed to be constant. I was laughing really hard when we first like when you talked about this film. We're gonna watch it because I've been rewatching Parks and Rec, and the only time I've ever heard Galentine's Day is like Leslie Knope, because she hosts a Galentine's Day brunch every year for her mom and her friends. And she's like, she writes a 5,000 word essay for each of these people at the brunch to be like, why I love you so much. And I'm like, oh my God. 5,000
words is a lot, by the way, if anyone knows. Yeah.
There's like 10 people at the table. So it made me laugh really hard because I was like, that's what I think of when I hear the Galentine's Day.
50,000 words.
She's got a lot of love to give, Leslie.
She must be writing them throughout the year, though. She must be.
Does she know she only sleeps like 3 hours a night?
Yeah, but that's like, sometimes I only do that and I don't get as much work as she does.
You don't write 5,000 word essays every day?
No, but I do I force myself to write 3 hours a night.
3 hours a night?
Well, recently it's been a little bit less because you've been on the phone with me. But yes, 3 hours, 3 hours a night. And like, I'm slowly getting through Friday the 13th.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what it should be called. Like Friday the 13th, everyone needs a mask.
The one where everyone wears a mask. It does.
If you don't wear a mask, you'll find your consequences. Anyways, so I have another thing just before we get into more of this. Yeah. Apparently it was shot in Pennsylvania and Philly.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about when they were on the roof, right?
It came up multiple times. Also, like I saw license plates as Pennsylvania. I saw like Philly police, right? They were describing themselves. I really want to look up in a second if it was actually shot in Philly or Pennsylvania because it did not feel like it.
Yeah, like why? Like, are you saying like why would they make that choice?
Also, yeah. Also, why did they make that choice? Yeah, that's a big question because like I understand things being shot there, but I also don't get why it was shot, or that was just, why don't you just take the place that you were?
Yeah, like does it have
it's
really
probably
any
cheaper.
impact on the story?
No.
The only thing I could think of is just like but no, a city is a city. There's not that much that happens in the city.
But I
the
guess
only other thing would be like the outdoor space that they occupy, like the woods.
I guess Philly maybe is like, you think about Philly as being dirtier sometimes, right? So maybe that's why they based it in Philly.
Yeah, it's tough to say. But even like the company she works for, being based out of Philly seems like a weird place to be based out of. I don't know.
The Dick Pull Port? Pretty sure that's what it's called.
TM. Yeah, it's a really good brand.
The Dick Hole Port. Actually, yeah, we're gonna trademark that. Sorry, guys.
It's our company now.
Well, it actually reads what was it? The Quick Pull Sportswear or something like that?
Quick Pull Sports. Sounds like quid pro quo.
But it was sportswear.
Quid pro quo.
But it said sportswear.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
So it's Quick Pull Sportswear.
What is a term in any sport? And like I played a lot of sports where you use the word like the phrase quick pull.
Quick pull? No.
I've never heard that.
Maybe if you're using a shotgun, like pull, quick pull. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah.
Quick.
Well, I think you just figured it out. You solved the case.
Did.
You should have been one of the detectives in this.
We're done
film.
here. Yay. Just kidding. So I have a couple of notes on these characters too, because I think this is important before getting into anything else. Because, well, I've already said that I think Claire is a sociopath, but Brian is 100% a psychopath that ends up having to do sociopathic things like kill people that he wasn't really interested in killing.
Yeah. Well, like we kind of talked about on the interview with him, he's got the survival instincts of a psychopath, which is he maintains he's very, very good at making it seem like he's normal and maintaining relationships that serve him and his needs, right? So he can drop a bitch and move on to somebody else if that makes more sense for his survival. It's very self-absorbed, but like everybody seems to fall for it. He's easily able to move from one woman to another, you know?
Yeah, which also makes... I've got so much to say about this film.
Tell it. Sister.
No, I can't yet. It's for the end.
Oh.
Well,
what was that for?
But also, okay, so I was so confused right off the bat.
Okay.
Because I kind of liked him as a person, you know?
You're supposed to, for sure.
He's like, my dad raised me right. You get the inside. And like a lot of people don't know about this kind of mannerism that came from back in the day. I don't know when it started, but if a man and a woman are walking on the sidewalk together, usually the man takes the outside, the closest to the street. So if anything happens, he can save her, blah, 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 blah. You know, my dad raised me right, but I don't think he actually did raise you right, douche. But also like it seems like he's respectful to her and he keeps trying to say how respectful he is about what he feels for her so he can get into her life so easily.
Yeah, but he's always pushing the envelope. Like he's really not ever listening to her, only so that he can manipulate things to his ways. Like she clearly didn't want him to go home with her, and somehow he ends up in bed with her. Just being like, let me walk you to the door. I'm a gentleman. I have manners. Like whatever. Yeah. It's kind of and it's supposed to be that way, but it's like very insulting to women.
But it's supposed to be chivalrous in the fact that what he's doing, and that's it's an insult to women because he was able to get what I wrote down was first night equals first sexy times.
It certainly does.
First sexy times for sure. They definitely had. They knocked around the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
They knocked around the room.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden, after the first night of sexy times, he like, you see him after she falls asleep and he starts leaving. At least what you thought he was going to do was leave. And then he starts going through all of her stuff, starting to track her phone, like, I guess installing
leaving
spyware. Definitely leaving evidence already. But what I loved about the story was that I didn't know where any of this was going to go.
Yeah.
Because it was so boom, right? Like, he seems so respectful, and I was like, I like this guy. He's kind of cool. Like, yeah, he's just looking out for her, and, like, you know, but he's also saying things that are super creepy while he's doing these things. He's like, you shouldn't trust people on the first night. Like, let me just unlock your phone by, like, actually using the Face ID tool, which was fucked.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not that hard.
Like, while you're sleeping, like, just imagine that. That's actually why I don't have that on, but I don't actually have a password to my phone.
I do, because I've dropped my phone in public places before, and I've, like, literally when I've been walking my dog, I dropped it in the park, and then I got home to, like, my condo, and I was like, I used someone else's phone to call it. Thank God the person didn't steal it, but I've lost it so many times, and I'm like, I'm not taking a chance.
So yeah, I truly encourage people not to use Face ID, especially during Corona times, because people are, like, dropping their face mask just to do their Face ID.
Oh my God, yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, they have to take their face mask off just to do Face ID, and I'm like, they're like, hold on a second, and I'm like, no, why don't you just have a fucking password? Like, I don't want you to breathe all over me. Anyways.
But when you think, like, when Brian was in her house and he was saying these things, he's having, like, there's a lot of monologue, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really, really strange. Like, when we were talking to Brian in the interview, he was talking about the show You. And something that, like, stuck in my head when we were watching it the first time, or when I was watching it, was like, why are they not having narration instead of, like, these just speaking to themselves? Because it makes people look, like, a little weird. There's, like, a bit of awkwardness to it. And I was kind of hoping that they would have a narrator. But what we already established earlier is that there's not one clear point of view necessarily. Like, it's not possible to do it in this film the way they did it. So it was obviously a conscious choice.
Right. But, oh, I see. Fuck, you're right. Okay. Yeah. So I was going to say, yeah, I would have liked it better if it was narrated like you. But
who would narrate it?
Yeah, but also it would have to switch from character to character.
And that, I think that's what they thought through.
Yeah.
Which is why there was so much of that. But yeah, it's just like... But it made it feel awkward and uncomfortable. However, I think that contributed to, like, the discomfort of this, like, whatever we're going to get into later, because I have some theories about it. But I'm like, it made things more uncomfortable. But when you saw Brian, like, going around the house and saying these things, your first instinct, I'm guessing, was that he was kind of just, like, really into this chick. And he's like, I'm going to watch you. Like, girl, I'm obsessed with you already.
Yeah, but then he also left a picture underneath something. Yeah. Did that ever come up again? Yes. Did it? I don't remember that.
It was, and when you see it in the first scene, like the first time you're watching, you have no idea what it is. But it's actually a picture of him and his current wife, and scratched out her face.
Yeah, I knew. I saw something jealous. Like scratched out or like cut through. So I remember seeing that, but now that makes sense. So it was used as evidence.
But you, as the first time you're watching, you have no idea, and they come back to it, but it's just like they don't want to give away too much, but they are giving away a lot. By seeing the perspective of the antagonist and the protagonist this whole film, it's just like you get to see more than you should, but like they limit certain other things. I don't know. It was interesting because when the second time I watched it, I was just like, oh my God, that's what that was. I had no idea.
You're saying as the audience, we were privileged to very few things.
Yes. It was very controlled. It's very controlled.
Like, you mean like the writer director may be a psychopath?
I mean, like, I have some suspicions. So.
Like, I don't know. What's her name again? Oh, it was hard to pronounce.
Oh, yeah.
Annie something, I feel like.
B. Like, her last name was just B or something.
Annie B or something like that. I forget. I mean, like, we should look that up in a second. Because, I mean, that's kind of rude. Because it is very rude. Because I'd actually like to be able to say her name right.
Yeah. Maybe we can pronounce it.
I do actually, while we're taking a quick, like, breaky here from talking about it while I look things up. I do think that the acting throughout the entire film was on par.
100%.
Other than Claire's father. Yeah, we'll also get into that later. And if you need to get into that later, we'll be on here later doing this because it was like,
I'm gonna drive out of the road, you see, and they're gonna chase me. They're gonna think that I'm in your car and that it's you, but in fact it's me. And that was like overacting for him.
Oh my God, it wasn't Annie. It's Roxanne.
Roxanne.
Boisfort. Boisfort.
Let's see. Boisvert. Yeah.
I feel like it's French though, right?
I don't know.
Boisvert.
Roxanne Boisvert.
I kind of like that better.
So it's kind of good that we were speaking French at the beginning. Numéro 3.
Mm-hmm. And Andrea Canning was the writer. So I think a bit of the two of them kind of make up a psychopath in themselves, because if you're writing about a psychopath, you must be kind of like a psychopath.
True. Well, to be honest, maybe Claire wasn't a real sociopath, but the plot was constructed to make her seem like the girl who cries wolf, or like she's made to look crazy from the beginning.
I don't think, no, we didn't think that she was crazy. She was made to, he was manipulating everyone else's view of her, right? Mm-hmm. So she wasn't the one that was actually doing that. It was him.
Yeah, he constructed her to be like that.
Yes, and I forgot where I was going with it, but like but like, what did you say before about the sociopath thing? She was you were like, oh, she's made out to look like a sociopath. Yeah. No, I think she is a sociopath because of the way she's not crying wolf. She's being too vulnerable. She's giving off information. Yes, we give off a lot of information too, but would we ever talk about something like that? Well, not that we're banging a married man or something like that, Tash. Dan. I think we might have to talk about a few things later.
Looking forward to it.
But she was going to her friend Tiffany and just basically spilling her guts for no reason. And that's what I had a problem with this film, was that she didn't have to go to anyone.
Yeah.
And when she went to her mother was the best part. Well, okay. Which is where I thought because like, why go to Tiffany? Tiffany seems like a fucking slut.
She has the worst advice. She's like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or, you know what I mean? Like it's very one-dimensional.
It's not good at all.
Also, what happened to her friend from the first scene?
Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't even think about that at all.
That was my first thing I wrote down the first time I was watching. I was like, why are you like, you got your gal friends,
you
but your
introduced
only favorite one? Like, why would they put two if it should like always wrote like centered around Tiffany afterwards, right? But
the fuck? Yeah. Oh, and now I realize that, and I didn't even think about it before. Yeah. Was that when they go to that bar in the first place, it's because Tiffany got the invite.
Hell yeah, she did.
And I didn't even remember that until this very second.
Hell yeah.
Oh my God, what a fucking
Tiffany's the real antagonist. Yeah. Which is something right now. But you know what? Like,
oh, that wasn't loud enough, was it?
Well, okay. I think what's interesting, going off the fact that this is written, directed, it's obviously centered around women. If you think about it, there are how many? I think 3. Wait. I'm pretty sure there's only like 3 male characters. Brian.
Well, there was okay. Well, there's Brian, the dad, and then the random guy at the bar in the first place.
Yeah, that's yes.
But those are the only 3 men that you really see in the entire film.
Every single man is represented as being like pretty shitty.
Oh, they're all shitty.
Right?
Oh, they're all shitty. For sure.
ironically, to make Claire look better or to take more of like a female perspective in the film, they had to also make Claire look shitty. Like they had to basically like break her down in the film so that she can overcome these things and break her habits, like change this pattern. That's very important. That's the whole point, I believe, right? To show that she can overcome. Like we talked to Brian. We talked to Anthony about
Yeah, we
it.
talked to Brian about it. Yeah, that's right.
And we were like, she had to fix the relationship with her father in order to overcome things between her and Brian and to be triumphant, right? That was very important. But it's funny how they wanted all the men look like pretty shit, right? They wanted them to be like not good people necessarily. But to do that, like to have her be able to like work things out, they also had to make her look bad as a woman, you know?
Yeah.
Like she said, but like her and her mom, I don't know if you remember, her mom, like her dad cheated on her mom.
Oh, I remember.
And then her ex-boyfriend cheated on her. So it's like this
multiple
constant
times.
pattern.
But that also bothered me.
Why?
With the story. Okay. So like she, just before we find out about her ex cheating on her so much, right? We find out about her dad. And I'm like, well, if you found out about her dad and you were suspecting this guy for doing the same exact thing, it would have ended a lot faster. But I also think that manslaughter thing was not an accident. And that's where we're saying, also going along with the no narration, I think she's lying about it. I do honestly believe that she killed him.
You do?
Yeah. What if this movie was actually more of a question about who actually did what? Yeah. At first, he's manipulating so much that he has control over everything. And in the end, she has so much manipulation over everything that he actually goes to jail.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, imagine instead of the last, like, well, I know there's a scene after he gets arrested when he's in the cop car, but imagine like it showed him in the back and then it's like, but at the end, like she's the one who's fucked up and she's also like one step ahead. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
she was
That
actually
might have
one
been
step
cooler.
ahead the entire time. And that, you know what? And you know, this is why we do starting from scratch, is that we have ideas that I think, you know what, if we were to start from scratch, maybe not the entire film, but really a truly feminist film like this one should have ended with something much greater. Like, because she is, she's the goody two shoes. Yeah. But what if she wasn't? And that's a stronger female character.
I agree with you.
When she can make any choices.
The reveal of like Tiffany being in on it, and like we obviously know Brian's kind of like he's a twisted, like whatever, he's creating this web for her, right? But having like him get arrested is almost anticlimactic in a way, unless you really support her character having some growth and like overcoming and just being normal. But what it would have been a complete like climax ending is if it was like an unsettling thing of her being like like, you know what I mean, she's actually the one that orchestrated everything, and she knew like she's like, oh my god, like he could track me through spyware. Oh my god, I've never heard of this before. Dude, it's 2021. Yeah,
shut the fuck up. You know everything.
On my MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Oh no.
Like, yeah.
Oh no. Did he have access to my stuff? Yeah. Yeah. If you thought he was crazy, and who has chocolates and a love letter written ready at 4 a.m. or whenever the fuck he left? Because like, no, he didn't just run to a bodega. Sorry. He goes, I slipped out and I slipped back in. Because I'm that good. That's also what we
did earlier.
And then I left you.
You won't even know I'm here.
Some chocolate with a love letter that was obviously generic. Like, I thought I've known you for all of my life already. I feel that connection.
I feel like we've known each other forever.
We got that connection.
I'd probably fall for that though. Like, really?
Wow, stop it.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
no.
not many men say that. Like, he pushes the envelope right off the bat. He's aggressive, and like obviously like some women like that. That's all I'm saying.
I love how I wrote in my notes that that Claire was definitely the one that killed her ex Mark, because he cheated lots, and I do believe
You did write that down?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Killed her ex Mark. He cheated lots, because I do
she
not.
Has motive.
She has huge motive. Huge motive, and I think that's why they wrote it like that. You know.
Yeah. Plus, there's nothing between that, and then she probably had to have a cool down period.
We also have to think about that. The writer is not the director, and the writer can only do so much with the story before it's taken over by the director.
That's a good point.
And I bet you she was trying to get something like that in, and it just didn't go her way. Right. Like, again, I always bring this up, but apparently Martin Scorsese hadn't had his perfect film until later on in his film career. I think it was The Departed is what he said was like his first perfect like vision to film movie. You know, like he actually got what his vision was.
We don't think about that a lot, but I'm sure that's obviously very
that happens
common.
in every single film. And a lot of people don't think about that stuff. And it's a little sad because like a lot of people are so aggressive towards quote unquote bad films, but they don't think about how much work has been put into it. And I can totally speak to one of my own short films, which was my thesis in college. Like, no matter how much work I put into it, it didn't turn out the exact way I wanted it to. And you know what? Like, I'm still proud of it. But a lot of people fucked me over. A lot of this stuff happened. The weather was awful that year. There was so many snowstorms right on the days that I was actually supposed to get shit done with like high caliber, like music production peoples that work for like David Cronenberg. And I'm like, how did I get this? And I did. He was one of my profs, and he just felt bad because of the people that fucked me over, and he was going to do me a huge favor, but a weather storm fucked that over. You know what I mean? So shit, like there's so many unpredictable moments in the making of a film, and he said it was made in 18 days for actual production. You know, like the pre-production was probably a month or so. Right. Because it's got to get approved and all that stuff. Production was only 18 days, I think he said. And post-production was probably a week or so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool. Like, I think, I know Anthony kind of touched on it when we spoke to him as a medium, but also with this film, is that it was very collaborative. And I think that's probably a big thing that happens, like with, you know what I mean? Something like this, where there's a lot of people involved, obviously, and I'm sure for this project specifically, it was like Anthony got to have some pull on like what his character was. Like, there had to be more of a backstory. They were concerned about this or that, and so, as in a way, maybe it wasn't the vision that was like initially, like started out, or what was like in mind.
But for sure not. Yeah.
But what we're talking about right now is that you walk away with it having some questions, or feeling like that's a good movie when you walk away being like, I'm not sure about this. You're not taking it for face value. Yeah. Like, maybe there is something weird about
what we
Claire,
were talking
like,
about
whatever.
with him too. What I was saying to him in the interview was A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
Is A, you've got the team, you've got the crew. The B is the actual acting and the story itself, and where it actually somehow guides itself, right? And that is the C, right? The two together are supposed to be I forget the actual, there's a theory on it. I can't remember who brought it up or who made it. But I see that as the most powerful film, like you're saying right now. And I do, there's only one thing that I think we both were like, about this whole like collaboration between the two teams was the father part aspect for Brian. I get that both Brian and Claire have daddy issues. Mm-hmm. The one thing that wasn't answered for me with the daddy issue with Brian was that Was he just like, was his father just an evil man that like lost and just didn't succeed in what he was trying to corrupt people into doing?
From what I understand and from what he said, I believe it was that as much as in this film, the viewer is made to feel like men are bad, right? Like it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Men
yeah.
are just like fuck guys. The whole premise of
Tosh
the story.
doesn't even want to kiss me right now.
I can't even look at you right now. Just don't look at me. But anyway.
Just get out of here, okay? Get out of here.
Vicente. Fuck it. It's gonna be John.
Take it to the 401 west,
Take it to the
and like
407
take it to the 427 south, and then you get onto you merge onto the QEW, and then you take the exit onto Guelph line and take a right, and then take a left, and then you're home. Okay.
Now we all know how to get to your house from mine.
Shut up.
If you want to avoid the traffic, just get on the 407 and pay the toll.
The troll tolls to get into that boy's hole. Okay.
That's what I'm going to your house for, to get to that boy's hole. So anyways, damn it. What was I saying?
I don't even remember anymore. I'm sorry.
I remember. Is that okay? Where like men are supposed to leave a bad taste in our mouth, which sounds hilarious, but that's the takeaway from this film. But like, I believe that Brian's father was a good person, and I think that ironically his father was taken advantage of by women. So it's like, obviously, like Brian's character is not his motive is not love, his motive is money, right? So he attaches himself to people that will get him money. So it was just like, he feels like, you know what I mean? He didn't have that.
I also think he gets off to it.
I mean, I hope
He
so.
hits the JO.
He'd be hitting the JO.
Because he likes watching her too, like through the webcams. He's probably like,
okay, can we talk about this?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Also, this bitch loves to run, but she doesn't actually go anywhere with her runs.
Also, she's like, oh, you know that park? I think this is hilarious, and I get if it's like out of the way, but it's like you drive to take a run.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard at that point. I was like, that's actually so funny. But it had to be so secluded, like she said, out the way. But it's like you literally drove half an hour to go take a 15-minute run.
Yeah, who do like I know, like I understand, like I kind of understand that, but you know, I could just set up that virtual running thing where I get to trample people. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but they should look it up. It's a virtual
I would
treadmill.
love that. Like,
And you get to trample people. Yeah, hell yeah.
that would be amazing.
I'd actually want to run.
I actually want to run.
No,
Okay.
I'd actually want to run if I get to trample people.
You're like, I'm going to go on a virtual run and kill some people. I'm like, see you later. Okay, I want to talk about, and I'm sure you know this, but I want to talk about some film theory because I took a shot of this film and I'm going to show it to you because obviously you've seen it, but I wanted to just like, okay, so you know like the apparatus theory? Do you remember that? And I'm sure you would know different things about it because you were more like hands-on training than I had.
Give me a quick run through.
Okay, so cinematic apparatus, you know when you learn about that in film theories, like the camera, okay? But it acts in different ways, obviously, when you're filming. So the apparatus theory is a combination of, it's some theories from Marx, like Karl Marx, semiotics, and psychoanalysis. But simply put, like film creates, it's ideological. It creates its own unique reality, obviously, in any film. Not only in the way that the narrative is constructed, but also how the literal apparatus functions shot to shot and scene to scene. So it creates meaning with regards to how the subject and the story is told, but also how it represents the subject. So in this shot, which I'm going to show you right now.
Yep.
Okay. There's
I'm sure we can use that shot, actually.
I think so. I think it's a good one. It's interesting because he's not always in it.
Yeah, if people want to know what we're looking at right now, it's Brian looking at Claire through his laptop, watching her through her laptop.
Yes.
And getting the information through it.
Yeah. So I actually like wrote it down as like, it's like meta voyeurism. So us as a viewer.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. The more I was looking, I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. Wait, where did I write it down? Okay. There's a camera watching Brian, who's watching Claire through the another camera. This meta voyeurism is all happening to someone who has no idea that we are watching the watcher who's watching the watched.
Oh, fucking fuck. and if anyone can say that 5 times fast, they'll win something big, and it's probably my boner. for that kind of literature right there. Oh my God, my boner for literature is so hard.
I think you just split your pants.
I know I did.
Yeah, so I do want to touch a little bit more on film theory because like that's my background anyways. I don't know a lot about like the technical stuff, but if you want to know more about the apparatus theory, do you remember the Kuleshov effect?
The Kuleshov, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually loved watching this, and you should look this up because it's literally just like a couple of pictures. But when you're thinking about film in terms of creating a reality or showing, you want the viewer to feel something, it's about how it's shot, but it's also about how you combine images together, obviously. So the Kuleshov effect is they take a shot of a man who's somewhat expressionless and they cut it, or like they splice it with a baby in a casket. Then they redo it again and they shoot the same man, the same shot, the same framing, everything, but it's showing a bowl of soup. And then they do it the third time and they show him, and then they cut it with a woman who's in like a seductive pose. And what, as the audience,
this is the A plus B equals C.
Yeah, exactly. So like what you feel as a viewer, like you're like, I'll either feel sadness, hunger, or lust, but it's literally the same initial shot, right? Anyways, I think that in this, in the shot that I just showed you, I took a screenshot of it. The film becomes really self-reflexive because it's we know that we're watching him so it's interesting. Okay, the cinematic apparatus itself in this scene or whatever, because we see it multiple times, is very intimate because we see him is very private. He's speaking to himself, and there's like this discomfort of her speaking to herself as well. It feels like we probably shouldn't be watching it, and that's why we as the audience become very like conscious of ourselves being voyeurs, because we're watching someone watching someone watching someone. It's just so layered. It's literally like Inception of voyeurism. Like, right? But
I do agree. Like, oh, hold on. I do agree because like, sorry, I had myself muted because I was smoking some weed. Yes, I smoke weed. But I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying. This kind of voyeurism is like, it's the next level. You know, I hope that film theorists are listening to this. I wonder if that's actually do you think that it's already a thing? Because I think that's a great theory. You should write this down.
Well, I was like, this is a really good thesis because like actually, if you think about it in terms of the apparatus theory, creating an ideology or creating a reality, by doing this, you're creating 2 different realities. Like it's very different than any part of the film. And I don't know why it stuck in my head so much, because when I'm watching it, I'm like, you definitely see people watching like surveillance cameras. Like when they showed Brian changing the times on his surveillance
his own image too.
Him. Yeah. That's why I'm like, it becomes so self-reflexive.
But then even then, it was like a watcher versus a watcher versus a watching him versus a watching her.
Yeah, what is it?
That's even a meta.
A meta.
Voyeurism.
Brian who's watching Claire through another camera. Oh yeah. This happening to someone who has no idea that we are watching the watcher who's watching the watched. That's it.
Yeah, it's so good. it's such a good. Yeah, I love it.
Anyways, yeah, so it's creating 2 different realities. One is based on like Brian's like whatever is going on, like he has privy to this information, like whatever, and then she has no fucking idea, but like she's basically acting for him. I don't know. It's really, really weird to me, but I know we see things like that in films and TV shows all the time, but this was so much more purposeful that I was like, that's why it stuck out to me.
I think that's amazing. I definitely didn't think about that. It hit me though. Like I remember when I was watching it just before this, for the second time, I was hit so hard with that shot where I was like, there's something magical about this shot. Yeah. And then realizing he's changing the time.
Yeah.
Because you're like, why is he changing the time?
Yeah, you're like,
why is he doing this? Like, why?
Yeah. And I mean,
it all comes together in the end.
it does. I just think like that, just based on like the kind of film that it was, they spent a lot of more time and care kind of constructing things like that. It's it's supposed to, it's special. I don't know. It's different. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable, which brings me back to one of the first things we talked about, which was like this monologue, right? They go back and forth. That it's like, it's meant to feel uncomfortable because like sometimes I don't really talk to myself. My mom talks to herself all the time when she's doing work. I think it's weird. I get conscious of it because I'm like, man, if someone was watching me right now, I would look like a crazy person. That's why it feels uncomfortable, because we would never know about this otherwise, but she is in fact being watched, that you're supposed to feel this weirdness. I think that's why it wasn't narrated.
I agree. Like, but it's also like, who done it, right? Who done it?
It's a good question. Who done it?
Who done it, baby? Well, we gotta start getting through this. We're almost out of time here.
Okay, I want to know more about what you wrote down.
I'm almost done with everything that I wrote down, because I think you should go next. You've got more pages worth of shit.
Well,
I mean, not shit.
I just think it'd be funny to say, like, you know, you're talking about the dad and how like his facial hair. Well, you know, that the apparatus theory.
Well, we didn't talk about it on this.
Well, we'll get to it. But I just think, like, let's bridge into that, which is, you know, Sergei, is it Eisenstein, the film theorist?
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with the cinematic apparatus theory, or built on it, because whatever. And I was like, we could just call him Eisenstein, because, like, his hair is so ridiculous.
Eisenstein, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah, let's talk about the dad.
Okay, so Claire's dad is supposed to be this huge fucking cheater.
And like a douchebag.
Terrible person. And she keeps threatening her mom to go see her dad and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you got some severe daddy issues, girl. Anyways, she ends up going there for like a sanctuary at the end. And this guy was the worst actor of the film. And
yet he had to be the rescuer.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like all of the casting was so perfect until that guy, where also his, like, for like this cheater guy that's supposed to be super handsome.
It's not what you would have expected.
He was not super handsome because of his fucking terrible beard. Like, I wanted to trim it for him.
You're like, makeup, you cut, you run in there, you just.
Yeah. I was like, this is, if anyone's ever seen a beard, like on the cheeks, just like totally, like, I don't know, what would you call it? Like shimmered out, like it's just like pulled out to the full brisk of it, like the bristles, like pull those straight out to the sides, and that's what you got. It's not complimentary to anyone's face. No one's face. Even if your jawline is narrow as fuck, which isn't very common. Like, I get it from, like, you know, the early 1900s, right? Eisenstein. Like, I get that, but like when it's 2021, there's plenty of people telling you, can you just trim that a little bit? Like, your mustache is dope. Just like fucking frame it right. But also, okay, so he all of a sudden knows. He's also, how old is he? How old is he supposed to be? He should be probably in his 50s, late 50s. He looks like he's 77. Like, how old is she though? How old is Claire? I'd say she's probably like my age. I think she's like early 30s or late 20s. Okay, well, my dad's almost 60 already, and I'm not your age. So he's in his 60s probably, right? Or close to or in. Like, the mom looked like she could be like early 50s. She looking good. Well, she also got a lot of work done. But anyways, this guy all of a sudden knows how to install spyware and find it within seconds. Yeah. I don't think that's possible. And also, are we like, yes, he kind of like saved her life, but is that really what redemption is between a father-daughter relationship? Like, he was there for her, but it's like he just used his nerdness and was just like, here, you can just install this. But it wasn't a nerd. It wasn't a nerd thing. It was a nerd because he was such a fucked up person. Yeah. He was just so fucked up. This is what he knows. Yeah. And that's why she went to him, I guess. But like, what a terrible father. Like, just like, oh, well, I mean, like saves her a little bit by going, oh, he must have installed this to your phone and your computer, and that's how he found you. Oh my God. But he probably won't find us here because we're safe somehow.
Yeah.
But he's already outside the door waiting to kill everybody. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's true. I think like it's tough to say. I don't know if it's thematic or theoretical, but there's a lot of irony that it's just like there's a lot of strong female characters, I would argue, in this film. They're like above that. Like they separate themselves from men. There's a lot of separation between men and women, and you're supposed to feel like that from the beginning. But it seems like Claire owes her triumph and overcoming everything and like being the person she wants to be based solely on her interactions with men. It's ironic that she needs men to become a stronger woman, right?
Right. Like, is it the saying like you gotta lose somebody to love somebody kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Actually.
Yeah. It breaks my heart that the film was kind of about that though.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's so interesting. It's very conflicted because it's like you want a woman to be a strong woman because she is a strong woman and she can do it on her own.
Very strong woman, right? Too. Like, especially in this film, like as much as I hated her forehead, she was a very strong woman.
She was, and like like she could headbutt some people. I don't know.
Oh my God, she could headbutt some people and not feel a thing.
She's like, I'm numb, bitch. But like, yeah, it's, I don't know. I think that, okay, yes, she needs the men to do it, and it's shown because she's been through a lot, and so has her mom, and like whatever. She needed to break the cycle, and she did. She finally did. So that's her triumph, but she can only do that by her interactions with men. It's interesting that it takes that route or whatever. But like, I guess who would want to see a movie about a woman who's just like, I'm a strong, independent lady, and she just getting shit done? Like, it would be less satisfying, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Or like there'd be less depth to it, I would think. Anyways. But I do have to ask you something. One of the first things I wrote down.
You got to ask me something?
Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I wrote down, like it's bolded on my notes. Dan, what did you think of all like the phone video chatting and the huge focus on technology and cell phones? Because I know that's a pet peeve.
Yes. And I was thinking about this a lot. Because you're right. It is a pet peeve of mine, and it was definitely bothering me in certain ways.
Heavy,
but I do believe like the spyware stuff. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. That kind of technology to me, like it's not the cell phone to move things along as much, but watching her, seeing where she's going, that's moving the plot along.
And us watching him, watching her.
Because exactly. Because he knew that she was going to go to the coffee shop because of one of those devices. Yeah. And that is fine. It's not,
with purpose.
It had so much purpose. And I want to say kudos to whoever, like, I'm sure it was director, writer, Andrea, Roxanne, Mix. But kudos to you in not making me totally hate the technology in this film.
I think that's gonna like give your rating so much. Like it's gonna change like what you're gonna rate this film, because I was like, that's the first thing I thought of, and 100%. I was like, I wonder what he's gonna think, because when I started thinking deeper, I was like, oh, he's gonna see that there's like a
because
huge
there wasn't much of like, oh, meet me here. Yeah. There wasn't much of that. It was like, I'm tracking your phone.
Yeah.
Which is totally cool, because like that shit actually happens.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that actually makes sense. Where it's like, I'm tracking your phone, I'm tracking your laptop, I'm looking at you through your cameras. Yeah. Which is apparently a very, very, very radical thing right now because of what's happening from Russia to here. They just like watching Americans and Canadians get off on their cameras.
Oh dear.
Right?
That's hot. But yeah, you're right.
Sometimes,
they didn't most times, they didn't use it as like, I'm gonna send her a text message. It was like, I'm gonna watch her. Like, I'm gonna watch the message that she's sending.
And it was evidence. And like, whenever she went to her phone to be like, oh no, I didn't do this because I sent this text message, and it was gone.
Yeah.
and there was no evidence on the phone.
Yeah.
And she's like, where is it? Like, you know what? Like, this is and it's weird that it's a Lifetime movie that I'm like giving kudos to, because, you know, a lot of people look down on Lifetime, and sometimes I've done that before too. But this film was definitely, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, because like it wasn't what I want from a movie is for something to totally break my mind, you know, like when it comes to something like this, because this was definitely like a psychopath, sociopath. There were so many things mixed together in it. I thought I was going to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, and to get the 5 out of the 5, I would have wanted to learn a new theory, but which is what you're doing right now, what we're doing right now. So I think that we can make it a 5 out of 5, but I still view it as a 4 out of 5. I think that's a great rating from me too, because
it's
like
the right content, I think, for people like us. Like, it's not like every other Lifetime film.
Honestly, if we didn't talk to Anthony before this, probably on my point of view, 2.5, maybe a 3. You know, like I do think that since we got to talk to Anthony, we got a huge insight into the film. And I think and I hope that people listen to this, and for the future films that we do, I really truly hope that we get to interview people a part of these films, because that's what we want to do. Yeah. That's what
tell us
like even
more,
even if it's for 15 minutes, even if it's for 2 minutes, send us an email, send us a voicemail. I don't fucking care. Like, just talk to us. Like, we will totally be on your side for the most part. We're not here to like ring you out. We're here to question.
Yeah.
Because we want to know more. We also want to look into it deeper.
Yeah.
And
well, I think what makes a film better, I think you'll agree with me, is like, you can watch a movie once and like whatever, it's just for purely entertainment. But if you feel like, and we watched it twice mostly because we were trying to just like gather thoughts and like whatever, but if you can get so much more out of it the second time around, that's a good fucking film. That's
agreed.
A stellar film.
Agreed. That's and that's a theory on itself too, right? If you get more from something each time you listen or watch it, that means you've actually created some sort of art. Yeah. You know, like where you get to question yourself. You're like, oh, I thought that before, but what do I think about this now? Yeah. But we're gonna finish this off because, anyways, Anthony Grant, Brian, he gets caught, but Tiffany is also the bitch friend that was selling her out from the beginning. And I wish that and I was arguing with Tash. I'm pretty sure Tiffany and Brian were getting it on because they were accomplices, right? They were accomplices together this entire time.
They're like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, but they got caught. Both of them got caught. They're not that good.
It was so shitty though when like he's like, Tiffany, what, you sold me out? She's like, I had to save myself. And
yeah,
like,
no, I hated it. Yeah, I was like,
You're the worst
hated
character. And she's a woman and she's the worst character.
No, I hated both that interaction. Yes. At the end, I hated it.
It was horrible. Yeah.
Because I wish he wouldn't have said anything, because then it would have been like, oh my God, like we gotta save each other. Yeah. And yeah, we've been fucking like, and we've been getting you were best friends anymore. Like, are you like, you guys were doing this together. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's just done.
Yeah, I know that this is so super weird. I also have just one thing to say about technology, like cell phones in movies. Okay. Because this bothers the shit out of me, and I never say anything about it, but it does. Okay. If you and I are like lead roles in a movie together.
Stop ushering my penis towards you.
Just like, let me say good. So if I like, if it showed my phone and I'm going to text you and you and I have like an established friendship, an established relationship, like we know each other, you're a contact in my phone. Okay. What if you're my best friend in a movie? Like, I'm pretty sure this happened between Claire and Tiffany. She sends her a text message and there's no text history in her phone. Yeah. Like, I wrote it down. I was just like, why can't it just have like a stupid emoji or something? Every single time they do this in film and TV, it looks like the first time I'm texting you, but you're my best friend since I was 10. Like, yeah. I don't get it. They don't want to show any history. Put a fucking emoji. Put something. That bothers me so much.
I get that too. Because it's like, it's not a fresh message.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a fresh message. If we were like unacquaintances, like we hadn't met until today, then I understand that. But if we were friends for years, like our message history is so long. Like if I deleted
10 years to get back to the
if
beginning.
I deleted it, it would probably free up half of my memory in my phone.
Truly. And if you think about it, I don't add someone's number to my phone unless I'm immediately sending them a message. Because like, oh, here's my number. Cool. I'm going to send you a message so you have my number.
Yeah.
So every single conversation on my phone is with every single contact that exists in my phone. Right? Mm-hmm. That it's just like, okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. I just hope that the next time I see that, please change it. It's really not that hard to change anything.
Yeah.
See you later. Or
it's really, you're right. You're right. It's really not that much.
Emoji.
It's not that hard to change because you've already made this entire graphic.
It would take 10 seconds. I don't know.
Throw it back.
Okay. That's all I have to say about that.
And I actually think that brings us up to the end anyways. So I do want to say, is that your starting from scratch point?
That's a huge point for me, yes. But it's not the first time I've seen it. It's just I really wish that they spent so much time thinking about that.
So starting from scratch point from Tash is that, and mine was have a better ending, because I do think that she was a sociopath. Or maybe she was actually a psychopath and she was also planning along the entire time.
Yeah, why not?
That would have been a movie. I think that would have gotten like lifetime awards. Also, tons of fucking awards.
It's very layered that way. And I don't think it's just because we interviewed Anthony. It's that, excuse me, I took a liking to him, and it's not because I like crazy people. It's because I'm just like, I was rooting for him the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's the antagonist. I want the antagonist to be triumphant. I didn't want her to be. That I was just like, starting from scratch. I wish that, yes, they evolved it even further with her character, or that he didn't get totally destroyed in the end. I don't know. Something more unsettling I would want. I don't want a full wrap up. And something like that, they're going to construct them such a specific way. I want to feel unsettled at the end. That's all.
All right. Thank you for listening. And join us again, like I was saying, Flannel on Flannel with Daniel, or Flannel on Flannel with Tash at gmail.com. Actually, we need to talk about our Discord, because we're starting to do hashtag Dick Smoothie. We're going to get into most of the other things. Like, you can find us on Discord. Please, please, please. We want to be able to talk to our community of listeners.
I love talking.
We want to be able to have jokes with you. We want to be like the insider jokes. Like, let's have fun. Let's do this.
We want a FERD community.
Yeah, we want the FERD Nation. Okay, FERD.nation is actually our Instagram. So please, please, please find us. Let's have some fun. This is for fun. This is like, we have our more professional podcasts, but this is the one where we're like, we get to have a shit show of a time. Anyways, good night, ladies and gentlemen, and aliens, and sneeping dogs, and snoring dogs. And I hope you can hear my dog Bugle snore in the background, because he is so loud. Good night.